It's just crazy that they expect you to follow all the rules. They expect you to do exactly what the handbooks say to do. They expect you to do it. I don't care what federal job, state job, they got a handbook. And you got to follow the handbook. You got to follow the laws. You got to make sure you obey the. But for some particular odd reason, if that was the real rhyme and reason, they be trying to tell you, oh, you can't get that far in life because you act this way. You can't get. They don't say you don't got the skills. That's why I'm making this motherfucking video right here to make it clear what I'm doing. Because I see there's always a rebuttal because somebody think they know what they talking about. And you may know what's best for you. You may know what's best for the next person. But what you don't know is the type of things that's blocking your blessing, the type of environment you put yourself in that stops you from getting your blessing. So at the end of the day, people can have all the opinions and thoughts about you they want. But one thing they can't take away from you is your effort. And people all day long is trying to make it by effort, not by sight, not by somebody helping them get there. They're doing it with effort. Lots of people. I met this dude the other day, brother. He was trying to raise his family and put a pipe system together in our building. Cool dude. Don't ever want no one to think Daryl Harrington is on the internet boasting and bragging about what I got going on. See, that's the problem when I say people think that what you're doing is bragging. People will think what you're doing is boasting because they're so opinionated about your presence. But they all follow some type of rules. Even if it's a gang rule to a capo rule. They all got something they follow. Say you follow the rules, you follow the script, you reliable person. But every time you try to follow the rules, there's always somebody around you that don't think the rules apply to them. Now that will affect you when people say, hey man, why you even be on the internet? Why are you making these comments? Because I'm making it relevant that when you follow the rules, no one will notice that good behavior, that attribute. They want to follow and listen to things that don't follow the rules. And when I say follow the rules, it has nothing to do with the haves and the have-nots. But a lot of African Americans, a lot of poor people, a lot of people that is getting handed crow is getting handed to them because the expectation was, hey, you got to follow these rules, right? So the expectation has always been follow these rules, follow these rules, follow these rules. But in actuality, you got people that spew hate. They get famous from it. You got people that spew all types of things that's not healthy and is not negotiable in life. But people do it thinking that they have a right to do it because no one is questioning them. No one is stopping them from making better decisions. What they do is they put their money in front of that circumstance and say, hey, I got money, so I'm allowed to be negative. I'm allowed to be, quote unquote, a little bit racist. All that does is enable people to think doing bad is good and doing negative shit to get attention is good. When does doing bad mean good? So now we in this realm where everybody's constantly making judgments and thoughts about someone else's statements. When we clearly know when you make derogatory statements, you really talking like you are. That is who you are. And I love that God has enabled me to experience things that tons of people do every day and I took for granted. Imagine how it is to be a doctor and you walk in a room and somebody had a stroke. That doctor has to keep his composure. He has to stay calm and he has to articulate to himself and to others what the next steps will be to do. And the reason I make these comments is because when your day comes, because all our days come, good, bad, and different. When your day comes, I pray, it's like I wish somebody would pray for me, that you have understanding on the process. The understanding of choice and the balance of shit is not fair. Things will never work out the way that they told you. When I was growing up, I got told by every fucking adult to go work in the steel mill, go work at Heinz, go work where all these businesses are dissolving and the manufacturing jobs. They're all sending jobs away. I worked jobs where I thought I was going to be there for a long period of time, and they sold the company to a foreign entity, and that affected my gainful employment and my skill set. I do not have any grudge against any type of race or any type of person, but my background is to accommodate. That is not a selfless act. That is an act of what God created me to do. That is not a posture that everyone has. Some people's posture is being negative and getting away with it. Some people's posture is manipulating a certain base of people and having that base of people think that the information that he gives is self-serving enough and worthy enough to obtain. But I'm here just to talk about what Daryl provides as a human being, as a concierge, as someone that sits down and listens to what people need done. You have to understand, I work in the service industry where I accommodate people and what they need. So there's assistive services I provide, there's afternoon services I provide, there's car services that I provide, there's life wellness training that I provide, there's also employment education that I provide. There's a plethora of things that I provide on an individual basis, on a one-to-one. I meet you where you at, like everyone does for me. So when you help somebody, it's each one teach one. You know, it's like going to a psychiatric meeting for a minor. When you go into that meeting, if you're the type of person that's scheming on getting a check, if you think your child needs medication, then you let the psychiatric people be like, hey, why don't you give him this Caserta? It'll make him good. But when has it ever been a pill or a drug that makes you the ultimate person? So you have, as a parent, you have the ultimate ability to say no. I just want therapy. I just want communication. I don't want you to induce or introduce a drug to my child. But if you're not knowing and you're letting the professional explain it to you, then if you go out and get professional help, people that are in that field, people that are skilled, and you be like, hey, they increased the milligrams by 15 to 30 milligrams in a 2 week period because they're trying to find a happy medium in how the drug works. And as a parent, if you're not informed in that, you're just going to constantly feed them that drug because you think this drug is going to make this child do exactly what you say it's going to do. You're just going to keep giving them the drug. But if you had an understanding, if you could communicate with someone and be like, hey, what was your experience with Caserta? Hey, what was your experience with Adderall? You would be able to help people define what benefits that they're looking for and the need that they have. So when you say you are a concierge, when you say you're an administrative assistant, when you say that you work with individuals with needs, when you say that you work with people that are less fortunate, then not to say me, because I'm not fortunate. I'm just blessed and encouraged enough to want to fight the good fight. That's it. It has nothing to do with a plethora or a litany of issues in my background. I don't have any regrets or concerns that I need to tell the world that this is how I provide a service. This is how I help people overcome their obstacles. That's not what this is all about every time we try to help people get to the next spot. We're not trying to pick ourselves up in a time of need. We're not trying to gain angle on somebody's life. We're not trying to get some momentum and say, hey, I helped somebody pass. This lady fell on her face. She was down there for 4 I'm not a type of person that wants to spew that I'm trying to gain an advantage on the internet. I'm not trying to gain an advantage on the internet. The internet is undefeated. You gotta use some common sense. These kids went to editing class, didn't get a job. Well, they got all this talent. They're sitting at home and they're using it. Good for them. I don't have any talent like that. My talent is off a whim. I might just record something right and it works out for me. That's it. I'm not saying that I'm anything more than what I am. That's it. And I'm saying that for a reason, from a perspective of respect. You know, the type of sarcasm I have, the type of humor I have is from older men being straightforward with them. Older men hurting my feelings, but really teaching me reality. I'm not talking about one man. I'm talking about a whole hood of niggas everywhere I go. Because I was dumb enough to stand in the crowd, and I thought I was strong enough to take the constructive criticism. So therefore, I was allowed to be able to ask questions to elders, and these elders were able to redirect me in any neighborhood. I don't care, name the neighborhood in Pittsburgh. I'm talking about from Duquesne, Clairton, McKeesport, Pittsburgh, the whole Pittsburgh. Elders would see my approach, understand that I didn't have a father figure in my life, but I was active. And I was active in a lot of shit. It wasn't just negative shit. I was working. So they had admiration for me, respect. So they poured information into me, not negative information. Even though they had their own position, they were my elder. I knew what their position was. I knew that what you say to me is not in my pay grade. So I don't have the right to negotiate this information to anybody. That's how I got to learn what a CDL was. That's how I got to learn how driving hot rock, doing all the damn sludge and all that shit came about. It didn't come from people from my age. It didn't come from people that I graduated with. The information I got was from adults that went through the struggle before me, that knew that if I get my CDL in the 90s and in the 80s and in the ceteras and the ceteras, in those times, if you had a CDL and the white man knew you had it, he would do things like stop you from getting contracts into these environments. But as the time progressed and more blacks got aware of a CDL, they communicated to one another, hey, you can go drive a truck and have a felony, or you can get a second chance and go drive a rig. And this is not to alienate a group of people by race or by ethnicity. This is to explain that each and every group of people have a bridge that they had to cross. The Chinese had to cross a bridge. The Vietnamese had to cross a bridge. Every race had a group of people that they had to overcome the obstacle with. The Irish, the Jewish. Lots of people had to overcome obstacles, but they communicated. And I know that I'm not liked because my sarcasm comes from older people. They didn't use their feelings, and the number one cure for arguing was get out of your motherfucking feelings.